Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon once again, hosting from a van parked on a nice little street in downtown San Antonio.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Remember, kids, if the vans are rocking, don't come a knocking. No, no, no. You don't know what they're doing.
It ain't rocking. Remember, we're doing a stakeout here, Tom. We're not having extracurricular activities like you're in high school and you can't be in your parents' home. This is serious stuff when you're on a stakeout with surveillance.
High school was so much fun. It was 100 years ago, but it seems so much fun in the rearview mirror. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Victor Wembanyama isn't worried. Shohei does more Shohei things, and Buster Olney joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the Knicks scoring the final 11 points of their playoff game against the Spurs and winning by 10, 105-95. The Knicks came back from 13 points down in the fourth quarter. And even though Jalen Brunson made only 12 of his 31 shots, he scored 13 points in the decisive fourth quarter and made 5 of 9 shots in that quarter. Wilbon, you were there. What did the Knicks show you last night?
Oh, the resolve of a veteran team that knows what it's doing or feels it knows what it's doing. And they get behind a leader and they don't have, I like to steal Perk's phrase, agenda-free basketball. They are a team, Tony. They may not be yet the quintessential team of your youth that the Knicks had, and Walt Frazier himself compares those two teams to this one favorably. And as you know, Clyde's a tough critic. And I saw him last night walking out the door and asked him about it. And he talked about Brunson and everybody's willingness and ability to coalesce around Jalen Brunson. And it was Brunson, Brunson, Brunson. You mentioned in that lead-in, he didn't have a great shooting night. He knew that. Talked to him after the game. Tony, when his knee was backed into like a lineman in a scrum in a football game, you look at this and you go, oh, no, no, no. Don't tell me the playoffs are going to go up in flames, the finals, because Jalen Brunson's now got to leave the court with this knee injury. And he says to his father, assistant coach Rick Brunson, who played in the league, his father looked at it and just sort of winced. And Jalen says, Pop, give me a minute. And there are people on the team who didn't think give me a minute was going to do it, but it did. And I asked Jalen afterward, I'm like, did you see the replay of this? And he had not at that point. And I said, it's good you didn't see the replay because it looked bad. And he comes back out. And, of course, San Antonio people think he was faking it to sort of, take advantage of them, sucker them. No, he got plowed into, and he was great down the stretch, like the most clutch player in the league that he is.
Yeah. Do I really have to say this? Do I have to say out loud, I believe I had this? Do I have to say this? Do I have to remind you that I said there was no one on San Antonio who could stop Jalen Brunson? And do I have to remind you that you said there are 4 dudes on San Antonio and they have the best chance to stop him? Well, they didn't stop him. Even if he had a bad night statistically, he didn't stop him, okay? I mean, he had 30 points. The last guy to get 30 points in the NBA Finals debut for the Knicks was Willis Reed. And you talk about Walt Frazier. Walt Frazier said last night that Jalen Brunson, let me get this quote, he has the tenacity of Willis and he's got my cool. What more could you ask of someone than to be like Walt Frazier and Willis Reed, right? He shot 39%.
Yep.
I understand that he missed 19 shots, but he made the shots that mattered most. He hit the first shot of the game, the first 3 of the game, and he hit it to set the tone. And then he hit the most important 3 of the game with about 150 left from the right corner.
In the
he
corner.
kept the ball alive on an offensive rebound alive. And that made the score 97-95 in favor of the Knicks. And that was, in effect, the dagger because that was the beginning of the 11-0 run. Look, you're not going to know this because I didn't say it on the air yesterday. But in my notes, I had this written down. If the Knicks win Game 1, all bets are off. Not Game 2, Game 1. Because I look at the Knicks as a team that cannot be caught and then passed. All right? I mean, they have won 12 in a row in the playoffs by an absurd margin of 272 points. You know, and in the words of another New York champion and also quoting our friend David Remnick in the New Yorker, you got to believe.
Yeah, I'm not into the believing. I just sort of like it that a Chicago boy is saving the Knicks' ass right now. I love that. Let's focus now on Victor Wembanyama's night. The Spurs megastar finished with 26 points and 12 boards, but he missed 15 of 21, turned it over 6 times. And after the game, he said, quote, I was bad tonight, It's not more complicated than that, close quote. And then he added that he's not worried in the slightest about how his team will perform going forward. Tony, is that confidence well placed?
Well, I certainly think it's well placed today because there's no game today. But in general, I feel it is well placed. I think it is reasonable. I'll tell you why. He had a bad game in Game 5 against Oklahoma City. He shot 5 of 19 or something like that and 0 for 5 from 3. And he owned it, and he said he would be better, and he was better. And then in Game 6, he was 10 for 21 from the field, 4 from 9 from 3, and the Spurs won by 27. So he has that on his resume, right? He's got that. He knows what he can do. There's no reason to believe they can't do that again in Game 2. But in Game 1, as you're saying, in his first game in the finals, at home even, he missed 15 shots. He missed 7 threes, and he had 6 turnovers. Like, he's a great player. I mean, we're not going to not say he's a great player, but I think you remember yesterday I said it was going to be more problematic against Karl Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby than it was against Oklahoma City with Hartenstein. Yeah, it's just more problematic. And, in fact, Towns turned to the basket and went to the rim a couple of times on him. And, indeed, the Knicks outscored the Spurs in the paint. What's my number here? 50-42. That's where Wembanyama's presence on defense, that's where his presence on defense is supposed to be felt. And then when you watch him on the other end, he'd be taking fadeaway 12-foot jump shots. Jalen Brunson, who you've come to love, thankfully, had 16 in the paint, and Wembanyama only had 8.
For the record, I loved Jalen Brunson before you knew who the hell he was. Let's get that straight. Now, secondly, Wembanyama has trouble with Karl Anthony Towns, a big guy. No, New Yorkers. I love New York. Let's get that straight, too. So Karl Anthony Towns gives him problems. Tony does. You're right about that. Because Wemby's got to go out there. And he's not, you got to guard Karl Anthony Towns. You have to guard everybody. You don't have to, guard Hartenstein, necessarily. And so it's a tough thing for what Karl Anthony Towns realized before the game. Very cognizant of it and talked about it. And listen, here's the problem with San Antonio, and this relates to Wemby. Wemby we love his confidence in all that he's doing. But, Tony, they need a veteran player they don't have. Harrison Barnes isn't really that guy. He's a nice fill-in player, a nice player you want to have on your team. Not a leader necessarily.
De'Aaron Fox is
not going to be the guy. No, Tony, he's not the kind of guy, a 10, 12-year guy, 14-year guy who can go to Wemby and say, shut up, Rook, here's what we're going to do. A guy like a Rasheed Wallace who could just go out, who has a little edge to him, a little crustiness to him. They don't have that guy. And I'm going to give the credit for this observation to Iman Shumpert, who I spent a long time talking to after the game. By the way, Shumpert became that guy with Cleveland later in his career. The Spurs don't have that. They got a bunch of guys with peach fuzz. They don't have it. They got a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old, and that's their roster. So the Spurs are missing that. The Knicks are not missing that. The Knicks are full of those guys. So the Knicks have an advantage there. I love Wemby's confidence. I don't know how it's going to translate in Game 2. That's why they play the games.
He's very easy to root for because he takes criticism well, and he is honestly self-critical. He's not a phony at all. But he's right about this.
That's right.
If they're going to win, it's going to come down to him. Let's move to baseball. And a couple of terrific pitching performances by a couple of pitchers have been terrific all season. Philadelphia's Christopher Sanchez extended his streak of innings pitched without giving up an earned run to 50 2/3 before finally being dinged for 1 earned in the 7th by the Padres. And Shohei Ohtani again threw 6 shutout innings, allowing just 2 hits to the Diamondbacks. His ERA is now 0.74, and by the way, Ohtani got on base 5 times. Wilbon, who had the more noteworthy pitching performance last night?
God, Tony, as you know, they were both historic. And we knew this going into the action last night because we talked about it on yesterday's show, which one was more intriguing for each of us. And you got on me at the end of the show because I said, I don't know. I don't know about this one either. Oral Hershiser.
Really?
I mean, Oral did this at a time where you and I, when we went to the 84 Olympics, remember back then it was even pre-Oral a little bit, and it was Valenzuela. And you had one going into the other, and the Dodgers had these pitching performances that were unreal. And you kind of think, well, nobody's going to get to Oral because, starting pitchers don't do as much now. They're not dependent on as much now. But, man, what Sanchez did when you start throwing Oral in there and you're third or fourth all time, my God. But then Shohei on base that many times, and hardly anybody's done it. Hardly anybody's going to do it because people don't have that duality in their lives and their talent skill sets don't support it. If I have to answer, I think I'm going to say Shohei, but you could convince me the other way because that was a historic chase that he fell short of.
I think it's hard for me to make this evaluation based just on last night because what Sanchez has done is stretched out over, it's remarkable and stretched out over 6 starts, 50 and 2/3 innings over 6 different starts.
Yeah.
You know, but last night he passed a couple of guys you might be familiar with, Carl Hubble and Bob Gibson. Those are pretty famous guys, and he's third all time on this thing. But like you, if I had to isolate it to last night, I would probably say Shohei because he goes 6, he gives up no earned runs. His ERA at 0.74 is half of what Sanchez's is. Sanchez is 1.46. His ERA through the first 10 starts of the year is third best in the live ball era. The only 2 with better are Jacob deGrom and Juan Marichal, 2 pretty big names. But it's the hitting. He's on base 5 times. He scores a run. Look, he was hitting on May 11th. This is a great number. He was hitting 233. We thought he was in a slump. Since May 11th, he's hitting 457. He has 32 hits in his last 70 at-bats. What's Sanchez batting? That's why it's Shohei, because what's Sanchez batting? Yeah, let's take a break.
But Sanchez,
coming
Tony,
up.
when you deal with Oral Hershiser in that straight and Drysdale.
And on Drysdale. And Drysdale. Dodgers are built on pitching. Built on Jackie Robinson and pitching. Dave Roberts, speaking of the Dodgers, says the Dodgers have the trade capital to get Tarek Skubal. We'll ask Buster Olney about that.
We'll also ask him how concerned the Yanks are about that Aaron Judge injury.
So wait, so you hate New Yorkers? I'm a New Yorker. Like all these years you've hated me?
I know, you and Stephen A.
Really?
Love you guys.
You
Love
hate
you
us?
both very much.
Well,
no.
Well, who do you hate?
Who do you hate? You people are annoying.
We have baseball questions for our great friend ESPN senior baseball writer and PTI Farm Bureau Chief Buster Olney. Before I get to the questions, Buster, the potatoes are in the dirt. The eyes are up. I am watering every day. Here we go. Dave Roberts told Bob Nightingale of USA Today that the Dodgers have the trade capital to go after Tarek Skubal. Where is Skubal most likely to end up?
Now, for now, Tony, what the Tigers are telling interested teams is we are not trading. At this point, they're not entertaining offers because they believe in a really terrible American League, they could get back in the race. If they don't, if they wind up trading him, I think he's going to wind up with one of 2 teams. The San Diego Padres, a team in need of a starting pitcher, and they have a very aggressive general manager in A.J. Preller, or the Philadelphia Phillies. We know Dave Dombrowski, the head of baseball operations for the Phillies. He is a big game hunter when it comes to the trade deadline. If Skubal's traded, I bet you he winds up with one of those 2 teams.
Wow. Padres are coming right back after the Dodgers. Commissioner Rob Manfred said yesterday, Buster, that he worries that labor negotiations could lead to a work stoppage. How real a threat is that in your mind?
It is absolutely a real threat because the issue that they're fighting over, they're so diametrically opposed. The owners, for the first time, are asking for a salary cap in negotiations for the first time since 1994-95. And the players, on the other hand, the association is saying, no, we will not accept a salary cap. So they are entrenched. And as it was in 94-95, the question comes down to who blinks first. In that issue, in 1994-95, at that time, it was the owners who blinked first after they lost a key legal decision in the spring. We'll see if this time around it's different, if the players are the first ones to blink.
Wow. It seems like that's what we're headed for. It seems almost inescapable. We'll get back to on-field stuff. Aaron Judge has missed 3 straight games for the Yanks. How concerning at this point is that injury?
Yeah, it's very concerning. Look, there's a real possibility that Aaron Judge is going to wind up on the injured list. He's still talking with specialists. The Yankees haven't announced exactly what they're going to do with him. But the fact is that since 2020, when Judge is out of lineup, it's a completely different team. Since that time, when he's in the lineup, there are 138 games over 500. When Judge is out of the lineup, the Yankees are 8 games under 500. Now, I do think this year's team is better equipped to deal with his absence because you have Ben Rice, an MVP candidate. You have a really strong rotation, Garrett Cole, Cam Schlittler. But if Judge is out, they're clearly going to miss him.
That's an amazing statistic. You would not think in a 9-man team situation that one guy would have anywhere near that. That's all right. Okay. Let me get you out of here on this. You have said that the Red Sox are looking for a righty bat, but it looks like they have found a lefty starter in 23-year-old Peyton Tolley, who beat the Orioles last night. Who is this guy?
All right, Tony, you know baseball has a longstanding tradition of left-handers who are known to be a little quirky. Well, Peyton Tolley, and I say this with all great respect and affection, is a classic left-hander. He has a great sense of humor, but he'll do things like in yesterday's press conference, joking around with reporters during the game when there's a bouncer over his head. He has no chance of grabbing. He's leaping in the air like he's going to be able to glove it. And in spring training, when Alex Cora, then the Red Sox manager, asked him to do a presentation on the history of the United States, Peyton Tolley somehow worked in hot dog eating champion Joey Chestnut into it and finished it off by unveiling his shaved chest, hairy chest, with USA in the middle of it. Right? The organization that gave us Bill Spaceman Lee has given us Peyton Tolley, and we should be thankful for this.
Yeah, I saw him in a post-game interview. His shoulders and arms, he's jacked. That guy's big. Thank you, Buster. Thank you.
Thanks, Buster. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, a qualifier makes the French final. The French Open final, a qualifier.
French is crazy. Don't recognize the French Open at all. And will the Hurricanes bounce back against the Golden Knights tonight in Game 2?
Yeah, well, the guy who went to leap, the guy Tolley, like he got, I don't know, 3 inches off the ground as the ball was over his head. It was funny.